Alright. Alright. How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we send Daf Yud Ches, Daf 18 of Masechta Sotah. Friends, today we start off with like some random Teku stuff and some technical stuff, and then we get to new Mishnah. And we finish the second parak of Masechta Sotah, and then tomorrow we will proceed with the third parak of Masechta Sotah. So that's cool. All right. Great. So we start in Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, 2, 4, 5 lines into the page. Ba'i Ravi. So Ravi asked a kasha. Kosav Beis Megillos L'Shtei Sotas. So if he wrote two, right, there were two sotas, and he wrote, kind of the parshas that we discussed yesterday of what exactly do you write. We saw three-way machlokas. So he writes whatever he writes, and then umachakon l'soch kos echad. But he erased the contents of the two scrolls into one, right, into like one cup, right? So each scroll did not get their own cup. Mahu. So is the important thing that they just have to be written properly, and they were written properly? Maybe we need them also to be erased properly, and not, feeding two birds with one seed. Okay, so if you say fine, so you have to, each one has to be erased, individually on its own. Okay, so so what if you did that? So you wrote the two scrolls separately. You erased them separately. But then you took the two mesotas that you've produced and you mixed them together. Do we say, look, the main thing is that you just need to erase them properly, and you did. But now that you mix them together and you're saying, okay, new drink, each one isn't necessarily drinking their mesota, right? Because it's all mixed together. And now it's one big cup, and they're all just saying, okay, you drink first, you drink second. But how do you know that what each one is drinking is really the mesota that was erased and prepared for them? What if you say, yeah, okay, fine, so that's going to be a problem. But what if they then put them back into two separate cups? Okay, so they wrote each parasha separately. They erased each one separately. They then mixed them together, and then they once again divided them up into two cups. So do we say yesh breire or in breire? So do we say that now that we divided them up again, and now you have two separate cups, do we say breire? Of course, we've learned breire a few times. Do we say that we can assume that, right, photoshopping retroactively, that memele, whatever each one has in their cup is what was meant for them? Or do we not say that? So, we say chveis nicht. Okay. Boi Rove. Rove asks, Hishka b'siv ma'u, b'shveiferis ma'u. What if you use some kind of a straw to drink it? Is that considered a proper way to drink or not? We say chveis nicht. What if like some of it spilled out, but some of it is still left over? Then what? Okay, so now, this next bit of the Gemara, I'm going to slip off my shoes because this floor is really squeaky. Okay. So this next bit of the Gemara is shtickle spaghetti, and it's a little, I can't say with 100% certainty that I got all of the technical details. It's really quite technical, but I'll share with you the way that I sort of the way that I guess I comprehend it on some level. How about that? Amar Ibzera, says Ibzera Amar Rav, the name Rav Bei Shvuas Amurus B'Sotah Lama. So why does it say Shvuas twice, right, by Sotah, right? Yesterday we had a whole bunch of psukim. The first pasuk, right, there were 4 psukim that we saw yesterday. The first one says Vishbia Osa Kohen, right, that she has to swear. And then 2 psukim later, it says Vishbia Kohen as Isha. So again, Shvuas. Why does it say Shvua twice by Sotah? So achas kodem shenimchiko megil v'achas la'achas shenimchiko megil. Well, one shvua before the whole text is erased in the water, and a shvua after the text is erased in the water. To which Rava asks, I don't understand. Both, what the heck is going on outside? Both shvuas in the Torah are written before they are erased. So it can't be that one of them is before the erasure and one of them is after. One second, I just need to understand what the noise is. I have no clue. Elo amar Rave, rather says Rave, achas shvua sheyesh ima Allah v'achas shvua she'ein ima Allah. Wow, okay, so this is where it gets technical. Well, if you look at the psukim, right, one part says v'shbia osa akoyin, okay, the other one says v'shbia akoyin esa isha b'shvua sa Allah. Okay, so one is just a regular shvua, and one is a shvua that has an Allah, that has a curse with it. Okay, fine. So what's this shvua that has this oath that has a curse with it, oath that doesn't have a curse with it? Okay, so I'm making you swear that you didn't have an affair. And as long as you didn't have an affair, so then you'll be all good. There won't be any curse. So that's just the shvua. So that's the shvua that does not have a curse with it. Just she swears that she didn't have an affair, and as long as she's telling the truth, there's no curse, and so that's the shvua that doesn't have the curse. She'im nitmeis yavou bich. But keep in mind that if you did have an affair, so then there's gonna be sort of the Sotah waters, and you're gonna die. So that would be the shvua that does have the curse with it, right? If she's not telling the truth and then she dies. Now, Now, Rava says, wait, but that doesn't work, because in that example, we basically make her swear twice, right? Meaning both oaths are on her in that case, right? Right. The first one is that there's an oath that you did not have an affair. And then the second oath is basically, right, the oath that you did not have an affair. And if you did, then there's going to be a curse along with it. So now, in both cases, the shvua is on her, but the thing is that we need one shvua to be for her and one shvua to be about the curse itself, not about her. So Ela Amar Rava mashbi'ani alayich she'im nitmis yavou bich. So rather, Rava says that I am imposing a swear that in the event that you had an affair, then there's going to be this curse, then you're going to die. So in that case, she's not really committing to anything, at least the way I understand it. She's not saying, I did have an affair, I didn't have an affair. She's just accepting the fact that there is a curse that will affect her in the event that she had an affair. But Ravashi says, but in that case, all there is a sort of this curse, but there isn't really, she's not committing to anything herself. She's not making a claim that I had an affair or not. It's just, right, it was just that if you had an affair, you're going to get cursed. So rather, Ravashi does like a combination of those two. So first, I'm making you swear that you didn't have an affair. So in that case, the swear is upon her, that she's swearing that she did not have an affair. Now, now you should know that if you did have an affair, so then you're going to die basically, which is the curse, right? And that's, she's kind of accepting the curse and not necessarily swearing herself, kind of thing. Super technical. Maybe I didn't quite understand it. I'm not exactly sure, but basically there's, right, at one point she's committing it to herself, right, that she didn't have an affair, and the other one is that she's accepting the fact that if she did have an affair, then there will be a curse that will strike her. I think that's how it goes. Okay, now we get to new Mishnah. Amma hi omeres amin amin. So it says in the pasuk, right, that it says ve omra isha amin amin. So what's this double amin? So amin ala Allah, amin ala shvua. So she says amin for the curse that we just talked about, and amin for the shvua that we just talked about. Amin mi ish ze, amin mi ish acher. Now she accepts whether it was from this person who she was warned about being with, or even if, okay, maybe, she was warned not to be with Ruvain, but she actually had an affair with Shimon. That's also going to be a problem, right? It's not limited only to Ruvain. So she was warned about being with Ruvain, but the fact of the matter is, even if she ended up having an affair with Shimon, the Sotah would check for that as well. Amin shlo satisi arusa v'nesua, right? So interestingly, we get into something what's called a Gilgul Shvuah. We must have had Gilgul Shvuahs in the past A Gilgul Shvua is something that it's not the primary Shvua, right? We wouldn't make you swear about this specifically, but once we are making you swear about something, so then we can, sort of roll it over to this one. It's like a secondary Shvua. So, meaning, of course, the main situation of Sotah is a married woman, right? So meaning the whole kinoi and stira we're talking about in marriage. This doesn't happen when you're engaged, right? It's not like in an engagement the fiance's warns and Sotah. No, it's only if they're married. But once they're married, and there's this suspicion, and then he warns her, and then she's secluded. So then the amin is that, whether I had an affair while I was married, but now once already we've gotten here, even if when she was engaged she had an affair, this Mei Sotah would check for that as well. It would also check, if her first husband dies, and then she does yibum with the brother. Now she's married to the brother, right? So now they're married, and then when she's married to the brother has this whole suspicion, kinui and stira. So when she says amin, she's committing that she didn't have an affair when she's married, right, to the yavam, but also even after her first husband had died and she was awaiting yibum, she didn't have an affair then either. Okay, she says, right, amin, that she didn't have an affair, and that if she did have an affair, so then they will then they will check her, right? So that's the Allah and the Shvuah. Reb Meir Omer says, Reb Meir, amin shelo nitmesi, amin shelo etma. So says Reb Meir that she's saying amin that she didn't have an affair, and amin that she won't have an affair in the future. That if in the future, as the Gemara is going to explain, she has an affair, so at that point the water will check her then, right? So if she didn't have an affair right now, and she drinks the Mei Sotah, and she's innocent, so obviously nothing will happen. But if in a year from now she has an affair, well, the Mei Sotah will still be in her system and will kick in then. Everybody agrees she'ein mas ne'ima lo al kodem she'tesayis, and everyone agrees that the Mei Sotah does not check for any relationships that she had before she was engaged. V'lo al acha she'tiskarish, and if she gets divorced and she's no longer married and she has a relationship with somebody, so that the Sotah water won't be checking that either, right? According to Reb Meir, who says any future affairs that wouldn't be an affair if she's not married. Nistra le'echad v'nitmes. So if she had an affair with somebody, so if she was married and then she got divorced, and while she was divorced she had a relationship with somebody and they had bia, and then she gets remarried to her first husband, right? Of course, if she gets divorced and then married to somebody else, she cannot remarry her first husband, but as long as she doesn't marry somebody else in the meantime, she can get remarried to her first husband. So now, if after getting divorced she has a relationship with another fellow, but they don't get married, and then she ends up getting remarrying her first husband, so lo haya mas ne'ima, so that relationship that she had in the interim when she was not married is not included in the Sotah checking because she wasn't married at the time. Ze'akal, this is the rule. Kol shetiba v'lo tei asur lo haya mas ne'ima. Any relationship that you would have with somebody that would not make her usher to her husband, so it's not included in the Sotah. So therefore, Kilu, right, if she's married and she gets divorced and she has a relationship with somebody else, she could still remarry her first husband. So that relationship that she had with that other person in the meantime doesn't make her usher in any way to her original husband. So when they get remarried, it's not included in Sotah. Only relationships that would make her and her husband not allowed to be with each other, so only the Sotah waters only checks for that. Omar Rav Amnune, says Rav Amnune, says the Gemara, Shomeres Yavam Shezinsa, that if you have a Shomeres Yavam, right, so, Ruvain, right, Shtiklu Yavam is over here, Ruvain, nothing too complicated though, Ruvain dies, and now his wife Sarah is a Shomeres Yavam, she needs to do Yibum with Ruvain's brother Shimon. Now while she's awaiting Yibum, Zinsa, she has an affair during this time. Asura li yivam li abma. Shimon can no longer do yibum with Sarah. Mimai, how do we know this? Well, midikatani, shomeres yavam uchnusa. In our Mishnah, we had said, we just said that the amen means amen whether she was married to Shimon, amen whether she had an affair while she was a shomeres yavam, before she married Shimon, but after Reuven is dead. So Yomar Bishlama Asura, so it makes sense if we say that a shomeres yavam that has an affair is forbidden to the yavam. Mishum hachi masna ba'ada. Well, that's why the Mishnah makes sense that amen whether she's married to Shimon or amen whether she was a shomeres yavam, because if she was a shomeres yavam, she had an affair, then she would be also to Shimon. Eli Amar lo asira. But if you say that when she has an affair, when she's a shomeres yavam, that does not make her asura to Shimon, well then, heichi masna ba'ada. Well then, how can it be included in the amen, right, in the Sotah checking, in the Sotah waters checking? We had said at the very end of the Mishnah that any relationship that would even post the relationship, she would still be permitted to her husband. She would not be asur to her husband. So then that's not included in the Sotah, right? So, right, if we're saying that a shomeres yavam that has an affair is still permitted to the to the yavam, right? She would still be permitted to Shimon. So if we're saying that she would be permitted, well then it wouldn't be included in the Sotah, because we had said at the end of the Mishnah, any relationship that she has that she would still be permitted was not included in the Sotah. So from the fact that it is included, right, amen, whether it's shomeres yavam or chnusa, must mean that memele they wouldn't be allowed to be together. That if a shomeres yavam has an affair, she's asura to the yavam. But in Eretz Yisrael they say that the halacha is not like Rav Hamnuna. Ela hadikatani shomeres yavam uchnusa hamani. Well then, how do you explain our Mishnah, which includes shomeres yavam and knusa, which means that memele shomeres yavam would be also to the yavam if she has an affair. Mani Rab Akiva, that's Rab Akiva's opinion that we learned about Masechta Yevamis. Dama in Kiddushin Tovsim b'chayve lavin umashvi lo ki erva. That of course we saw Rabbi Akiva's opinion in Masechta Yevamis, that Rabbi Akiva holds that even chayve lavin, right, Kiddushin is not Tovsin, and it treats it just like he would in erva, and therefore the pasuk says, right, Losia eishes hametz achutza leish zar yivamu yavo aleh. It's a lav, right? Losia eishes hametz lizar. I think that's the pasuk, right? So it's a lav, and therefore, if a shomeres yavam has an affair, so then it's a lav. And Rabbi Akiva would say, well, if it's a lav, then they're asur. Then she's asur to the yavam. They can't remain together, and therefore the Sotah water would check for that. But that's according to Rabbi Akiva. And in Eretz Yisrael they say, look, we pass into Chachamim who disagree, and therefore the Sotah water would not check her for any affair that she had when she's a shomeres yavam, according to the Chachamim. Okay, fine. Ba'i Rab Yirmiyah asked the kasha, Ma'u yasne adam al nisuin arishonim, al nisui achiv, Ma'u. What if you have a guy who's remarried, right? And now, meaning you had a guy who's married, and then he gets divorced, and then he remarries his first wife. And now when he's remarried to her, there's a whole Sotah situation, right? Kinoi stira, now the Sotah water is checking. Does it also check for any affair that they may have had, any affair that she may have had when they were married the first time around? Or what about if you have a yavam, right? So Reuven and Shimon, right? Reuven's married to Sarah, Reuven dies, Shimon to Zibum. So now Shimon, the yavam, has a suspicion, and again, kinui stira, now she drinks the water. Does it also check for if she had an affair when she was married to Reuven? So Tashma Komedi Zakla Kol Shetiba Velote Asurlo Lo Hayamasne. Well, the Mishnah says that any affair that would keep them permitted to each other is not included in the Sotah water. But Lo Hayamasnima Ha'asira Hachinami Demasna Shmamina. But right, the implication being that if the affair would make them asur, so then it would check for that. Now, of course, if she had an affair when she was married the first time around to the husband, or if she had an affair when she was married to the brother, in both of those cases, that would make her asur to the husband, either when they get remarried or to the Yavam, so therefore the waters would check for that as well. Rav Meir Omer, Omen Shlonit Meisi v'chule. So Rav Meir says that that she says Amen that she did not become Tameh, and Amen that she will not become Tameh. Tanya Loksham Rav Meir Amen Shelo Etma, that when Rav Meir says that she says Amen that she won't get Tameh in the future, it's not that Shem Titma Mein Bot Can also Me'achshav. It's not that, when she drinks the potion, we look in her future and we divine if in the future she's going to have an affair, and if she will, then she dies right now. No, the Sotah waters remain dormant in her system, and if at some point in the future she has an affair, well then they will kick in at that point in the future. Rav Ashi asked the kasha, according to Rav Meir, who says that she won't have an affair in the future. So what if they're married right now, and then what if they end up getting divorced and then remarried, and then she has an affair when they're remarried? Right, so meaning, they're married right now, and he has a suspicion, again, kino estir, she's drinking the Sotah water. Will it also check for if they get divorced and then remarried and then she has an affair? Will it check for that as well? Hashtamia lo asirale. Do we say, well, right now they're not remarried, they're just married for the first time? Odilma zinundim the garishla v'adar mahadrla. But it could happen that they can get divorced and then remarried, and that would be that would be an issue. Odilma, where am I? Odilma zinundim garishla v'adar mahadrla. Tashma hakol shavin shlo haya mas neima. Look, we said in the Mishnah that everybody agrees that the Sotah water does not check for before she had gotten engaged to him, nor does it check for if they get divorced and then she has a relationship with somebody when they are no longer married. So if they got divorced and then she has a relationship with somebody when they're no longer married, and then they get remarried, so that's okay. That's not going to be a problem. But if they get remarried and then she has an affair, well then it will check in that case, and according to Rav Meir, it would kick in at that point. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbi starts Zos Torah Saknos, that it says that this is the Torah of Kinui and Stira and Sotah basically. So that implies Milam Sha'isha Shosa Vishona. That Torah means this is the halacha, that essentially if ever it happens, this is what you do, implying that you can do this, that there could be a Sotah, a woman could be a Sotah multiple times, that if she has multiple affairs, then she could be then we go through this whole process multiple times. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Zos she'eino isha shosa v'shona. No, Rabbi Yehuda says Zos, this, it's a it's specific, it's limiting, it's saying no, you don't double it up, right? You only go through this process once. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, now says Rabbi Yehuda, however, that one time Nechunya Chofer Shichin, he got his name because he would dig wells for the people who would be Ola Regel. So one time Nechunya Chofer Shichin came and testified, Sha'isha Shosa Vishona, that a woman can drink Sotah water twice. V'kibanu do so. It says Rabbi Yehuda, and we accepted this testimony, B'shnei Anoshim, as long as we're talking about with two different husbands. Right, that if there's two husbands, so that, and she gets warned with her first, and she becomes a Sotah with her first husband, becomes a Sotah with her second husband. So yeah, she would drink twice. But Yehuda still says though, but if it's just the same husband, so then she would not drink the Sotah waters twice, because we'd say that the pasuk says Zos, which is saying she only drinks once, not twice. And the Chacham say that no, a woman does not drink the Sotah water twice. Bein be'ish echad. Whether we're talking about one husband or whether we're talking about two husbands, she only drinks once, not twice. V'tanakama nami hoksiv zos v'rabonim basrei nami hoksiv torres. But now one second, according to Tanakama, who says that she always, sounds like she's right. Tanakama is saying that she always drinks twice. What about zos, which is limiting? And according to the rabbis who say that she never drinks twice, what about Torahs, which it sounds like she would drink multiple times? So Amar Rava b'ish echad uvol echad nuchuli amal lo pligi de eni isha shosa v'shona. Look, says Rava, look, all three opinions agree that if we're talking about one husband, and we're talking about him warning her about the same fellow, don't be with this fellow, so everyone agrees that she would not drink twice with the same husband and the same bo'el, the same, fellow. Dichsiv zos, because the pasuk says zos, which is limiting. She would not drink twice. B'shnei anoshim v'shnei bayalin, but if it was two separate husbands and two separate fellows, so then d'chuli ama lo pligi de'isha shosa v'shona, then everybody would agree that she would drink twice. Dichsiv toras, because the pasuk says toras, which means multiple times she'll drink. Ki plige be'ish echad v'shnei bayalin, b'shnei anoshim uv'al echad. Where they argue, however, is with one husband but two fellows, b'shnei anoshim uv'al echad, or two husbands with one fellow. Tanakame sover toras l'rabuye kule. The Tanakama says, look, we rely more heavily on Toras, that Toras teaches that she would drink multiple times, and therefore she would drink multiple times in all cases. However, Zos, we do have the word Zos, lemute ish echad v'ol echad, to the exclusion of when you have one husband and one fellow. We said that everybody agrees that she would only drink once, not twice. But other than that, she would drink twice. V'rabbanan basroi, and the rabbis from later, Savre Zos limute kulhe, that Zos is limiting and it's going to exclude all situations. Toras, right, meaning she would never drink twice. However, Toras l'rabuye shnei anoshim v'shnei bayalim, but from the word Toras, which is inclusive, we include, okay, fine, that they concede if it's two husbands and they're warning about two separate fellows, so then, yeah, she would drink twice in that case. But in any other case, she would only drink once. Rabbi Yehuda is somewhere in the middle. Zos limute tarti, Toras l'rabus tarte. That Zos exclude, right, is limiting in two cases, right? We say in those two cases she would only drink once, whereas Toras is saying that there are other two cases where she would drink twice. So Zos limute tarti, when we say that the word Zos right, excludes two cases, ish echad v'ol echad, okay, with one husband and one fellow, she would only drink once, and ish echad v'shnei bayalin, and even in a case of one husband and two fellows, still, she would only drink once. But Toras l'rabuye tarti, when we say that Toras comes to include two situations, shnei anoshim uvoel echod, that if you have two husbands and one fellow, or shnei anoshim v'shnei bayalin, and of course, two husbands and two separate fellows, she would drink twice in both of those cases. Hadron Oloch, Hoya Mevi. We'll come back to Perik Hoya Mevi. So friends, that was Daf Yud Ches of Masechta Sotah. The first Amud was a little bit spaghetti, a bunch of Chveisnish Gemaras, and then kind of trying to figure out what's Shvua and what's Allah. And then we get to a Mishnah which talks about the Amen, about the different case, the context in which the Sotah would check. We had the interesting sugya of Gilgul Shvua. So for example, even though Sotah is only for a married woman, but it would also check for if she had an affair when she was a Rusa. We also saw Shomeis Yavam and Knusa, although we said that was Davka, the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. We saw the opinion of Rabbi Meir, who says that it would check for the future. So if she drinks the Mei Sotah, then at some point in the future she has an affair, so then it would kick in at that point. And then we saw a three-way machlokas about, does can a Sotah drink the Mei Sotah twice? We saw the opinion, right? Everyone agrees that with one husband and one bo'el, so then she would only drink once, and if it's two husbands and two bo'els, so then she would drink twice. The question becomes, what if you have one husband and two bo'els, or two husbands and one bo'el? The Tanakama says, right, yeah, you would drink twice in those cases. The Rabbanan say that no, you'd only drink once in those cases, and Rabbi Yehuda is somewhere in the middle. He says that with one husband and two fellows, she would drink once, but with two husbands and one fellow, she would drink twice. Friends, that was Daf Yud Ches of Masechta Sotah, and with that we conclude the second parak of Masechta Sotah. Hope you enjoy. Peace out. Bye.